My dad passed away 2 years ago and I'm now nearly adult. Last year my mum started going out with Anthony and they just got engaged. Anthony wanted to move in, but the problem is he's severely allergic to dogs. My mom told me we had to get rid of Dax, my dog. Like, not even as a question, just straight up said that's what we're going to do. I fought with my mom over this because he's my family and he's helped me get through losing my dad. Dax was my dad's dog that he rescued from a shelter when he was still a puppy, and we had him since I was a kid. So he means a lot to me, but my mom was like, nope, he has to go. We fought so much about it, I actually cried. Nobody wanted to adopt Dax though, and I had to beg my grandpa from my dad's side to take him, or else my mom was going to take him to a shelter. The problem was my grandpa lives an hour away and he can't do much physical stuff like take him out for walks, feed him, take him to the vet, etc. And there's no one around to help him take care of a dog. My grandpa suggested I can move here with him since all my classes are on Zoom and I'm graduating in June anyways. I told my mom I want to move in with my grandpa so I can be with Dax. She got really mad about that and she says they, her and Anthony, are my family and I need to be with them. But I told her, 1, Anthony's not my family. I have my own problems with him because he's kept talking about being my new dad and I don't like that stuff, but he doesn't listen when I tell him to stop saying he's my new dad because he's not. And 2, Dax is my family and she made me get rid of him just like that. My grandpa's my family too anyways. Last week I got my stuff and my uncle helped me to move to my grandpa's house. My mom's still being mad. She's not going to force me to come back, but she's still saying I'm being a really awful son that I'm choosing to be with my dog instead of with them. But it hurt too much being without him. He was taken to my grandpa's a week before I left, and all that time I was up crying missing him. And I know he missed me too because he got lost when I got there. My mom keeps telling me to come back and stop being cruel with her, but I'm happy here with my dog. I get she's got someone new to be happy with, and that's cool, it's her life, but why can't I be happy too with my dog living with me? Does it make me an idiot that I basically did choose Dax over her? Edit. My dad died in a work accident. You are absolutely not an awful son. What your mom is doing is horrible. She's trying to force a new family on you without your consent. Stay with your grandpa and keep the dog. It's already sketchy that she's become engaged just 2 years after losing your father. Hope things look up for you in the future. I can tell Dax is a good boy. You are not the idiot. It's the forcing a new dad on him that really gets me. Opie was a kid when he lost his father, and it's only been 2 years. He's still grieving and most likely will for the rest of his life. That is beyond crappy. Anthony has no say. He's not even married to your mom. He's just looking for free rent and is willing to drive wedges into your family to get it. Your mom's being an idiot too for allowing it. Opie, you are not wrong. I'm sorry for your loss. Go live your best life with Dax. Not the idiot. You made the right decision. You're in a supportive environment with your best friend and that's all that matters. This is also a good time to set boundaries with your mom and her future spouse. Be clear that you're moving forward and have no intentions of returning. Your dad died in a work accident? The insurance from this, who has it? There should be survivor benefits in your name. You need to check in on this and make sure your mother and her spouse don't take something that's meant for you. You are underage, but benefits should revert at 18 to you. However, unless changed, those funds keep going into your mother's account. Oh, reading this post, I kept looking for a reason she wanted him to stay since she apparently doesn't care about him. That's it. OP, check it. The survivor benefit should be going to your grandpa now and then to you at 18. I, male 37, started working at my dad's friend's restaurant since 2016. I started off small but was able to gain my employer's trust, and after seeing how I've been managing the restaurant days when he wasn't available, he decided to assign me to handle restaurant management. That means overseeing day-to-day operations, handling customers' complaints, providing service, managing shifts and putting together schedules and so on. I'm not really the manager, but the staff thinks I am. My relationship and interaction with the staff have changed a bit, but it's got nothing to do with my behaviour. My wife is my biggest supporter. She was thrilled after I told her I'm directly handling management. But I made it clear I'm not the manager, so I have limited authority. I'm not the ultimate decision maker in this establishment. Still, she went to tell everyone that her husband is now the manager of his workplace. He even posted about it, but I told her to take it down immediately. She showed up at the restaurant, doesn't normally eat there, and brought her friends with her. There was 5 of them. She invited them for lunch and ordered plenty of dishes. Then she embarrassed the waitress by refusing to pay, telling everyone that she's the wife of the manager and she shouldn't pay. She started arguing with the waitress, then went home. In 2 hours, I got a call from the waitress wanting to talk about what happened and why I fired her. I was shocked. I had no clue. She showed me the message that was sent from my Facebook, but I swore I didn't do it. I didn't even know my wife came to the restaurant. Turned out my wife sent the message on my behalf and fired the waitress, claiming her behaviour was rude and unprofessional. I was livid. I got berated by the manager after he found out, and I begged and explained that it was a mistake, a misunderstanding, and was able to give an alibi as to when this message was sent. Thankfully, he was patient and graceful. I got home and I confronted her. She confirmed everything, even the message. I blew up. Told her she almost caused me my entire job with her unacceptable behaviour. For the millionth time, I told her I'm not the manager and she needed to stop using this as an excuse to behave like this. She started crying after I told her to apologise to the waitress after this. She packed her stuff and left. I was so angry I smoked a cigarette, although I've been trying to quit. Her parents, my in-laws, called demanding to know what their daughter did other than be excited for my new position, and that I was wrong to cause her to cry when all she's ever been is supportive and encouraging. After they insisted I mishandled this argument, I just stopped talking to them. I'm now required to visit soon as possible and bring flowers and apologise to my wife for yelling, but I haven't done anything yet. Show up with flowers, divorce papers and a ban from your restaurant. You are not the idiot. She's being entitled and showing her true ugly colours and blowing off consequences. I agree with divorce papers. Not only is she entitled and mean, almost costing OP his job, she also runs away from conflict and refuses to discuss it with her husband. And she runs to her mommy and daddy trying to get them to solve everything for her. Not the idiot. I'm sorry to say this, man, but your wife didn't just cross the line. She sprinted across while cackling. You said that you've made it clear that you have management responsibility, but not management authority. Even if you did have management authority, that would not entitle your wife and a group of her friends to free food, unless this was detailed in the contract. The firing of the waitress through Facebook is not only wrong, but it's grounds for a lawsuit in most countries. Unfair dismissal springs to mind in the UK, not to mention most employers wouldn't fire someone through social media. Even if you had management authority, your wife does not and she has no right, even if the waitress had spit in her face at the restaurant, to act in your name. You are not the idiot. Don't you dare apologise to your wife. Is she trying to get you fired? Her behaviour is just outrageous. I would never, in a million years, go to my husband's place of employment and embarrass him like that. I'm sure you were mortified. God, I'm mortified for you. I don't care how old your wife is. My child has more manners. I, male 32, have a son with chronic heart disease. His condition affected his life. He can't run, play football, skate or swim due to several issues including shortage of breath, getting tired quickly and now issues with arrhythmia. He spends his time drawing or doing anything that doesn't require a lot of effort. It saddens me to see him like this. His birthday was last week. Last year he was in surgery and we couldn't celebrate. He mentioned that he wished he had a gaming device so he could play the games he sees on YouTube. I figure he'd be happy and excited with the Xbox that I saved up for despite struggling with money to pay for medical expenses. My wife's a stay-at-home mom. I work long hours. She wanted to handle planning for the event and called her two brothers, Mike and Austin, both in their 30s, to come help the day before the party. They showed up in the morning. I got home at 8. My wife was at the shop. I found Austin and Mike sitting quietly, which was unusual. I went upstairs and in a few minutes I discovered my son's Xbox was placed on the desk and looked like someone was using it. I found that the device had several cracks in it. The controllers were connected and the device looked damaged. I had no idea what happened. I ran downstairs to ask Mike and Austin, but only found Mike, who told me Austin had to leave because his wife was calling. I showed him the Xbox and he admitted that he and Austin borrowed it to play with it downstairs and were going to put it back, but Austin dropped it, causing it to break. I was livid. I screamed at him. He kept apologising but blamed Austin. My wife arrived when I told him to leave. I told her what happened. She said I shouldn't have treated her brothers like that after they helped out. I blew up at her, asking why she thought it was okay for 37 and 33-year-old men to use and damage a kid's birthday gift. After all, I worked hard to get this device to cheer my son up and do bonding activity for us. I demanded they pay for it, but she called me unreasonable since they barely afford rent and Austin has kids to feed. After a lot of arguing, I told her they weren't even allowed to come to the party after this. She said I was being unfair, that this is their nephew and our son will understand it was an accident. In-laws were upset that I didn't let them come to the party and said both of them are sorry, but it was an accident and I should let them attend, but instead I overreacted. You are not the idiot. If this was an Xbox Series X, they just damaged a $600 plus console for no reason. Even worse is that they took it out of the container, played, damaged it, and placed it in your son's room. On top of that, they weren't even going to tell you until you had to push them to confess that they damaged it and replied with a sorry, instead of pooling the money together and getting their nephew who's sick a new one. Even if you invited them, you'd be resenting them while they acted like they did nothing wrong. Not the idiot, I would be livid. Why would two grown men open a child's birthday present and start playing it? They 100% should pay for it. And I can't believe your wife thinks your son should be stuck with a broken console instead of making her adult brothers pay for what they broke. She needs to rethink her priorities. Probably going to get downvoted for this, but how did you not beat their butts out of pure anger? 100% not the idiot here. I hate kids, don't want any, don't want to look after them, etc. But that made my blood boil to have people come into my home, go through my stuff and use, then destroy a gift for my kid and not offer to pay for it. How you kept a cool head is something you need to teach me. LOL. Being only 1 year apart, I, 25 female, have always had a pretty good relationship with my sister. I met a guy named Jay, not real name, 4 years ago. We've instantly connected, started dating quickly. He's an amazing person and I couldn't be happier. He's Korean, born there, but moved in this country when he was a child. My parents had no problem with it, but my sister started making jokes every time he was around, joking about him eating dogs, being made out of rice and pretty much all that stupid stuff. I've tried telling her it was insulting and non-acceptable, but she's always saying it's just a joke and telling me I was terrible for calling her an R-word. Jay always told me not to get mad or yell because he didn't want to cause any problems. So I didn't, but at the same time I'm always angry whenever that happens. Anyways, we've announced our engagement lately. We're getting married next month. My family was very happy for me, his family too. Now my sister is supposed to be my bridesmaid, but the more the wedding approaches, the more comments my fiancé is getting. Lately, she's been telling us how worried she was that the ceremony is going to be an Asiatic nonsense, and we're all going to catch infection due to my in-laws coming. Also, I've learned she told Jay to try to get his eye bigger for the pictures, and she even told me I could always change my mind and marry a real guy. Last night, I talked to Jay and asked him about his feelings. He confessed that obviously he was getting tired of sister's comments. It was my cue to act, as I was also getting more and more upset and also frustrated to watch him get insulted without doing anything. So I called my sister and told her that the only way she was coming to the wedding was if she stopped her nasty comments and apologized to my fiancé. She refused and acted as if I was the one at fault, yelling at her like that even though she was only joking, etc, etc. I was very tired and I told her I'm not inviting her anymore until she changes. Now her and my parents are mad at me for doing that, saying I'm overreacting and shouldn't ban my sister for such an important event. But I'm sick of that and not changing my decision. But Jay told me I shouldn't do that, as it's a bit harsh and would pain my sister. He said it would be mean, so now I'm conflicted. Am I in the wrong? You are not wrong. If you don't stand up for your husband now, then when? When the comments about your children start? Will it be okay to joke about your children's heritage? No, of course it won't be. If your sister can't stop her stupid comments, then she has no place in the most important day of your life. And to be clear, you haven't banned her from your wedding. You gave her a choice that she was to be respectful or she was not to be there. She has told you that she will not be respectful, therefore she has chosen not to attend. Not the idiot. I probably wouldn't invite my parents either. This isn't a situation of your sister not knowing she's making insensitive comments. She's a horrible witch. I have a sister I didn't invite to my wedding and I have no regrets. You did say she could attend if she apologizes. Sounds reasonable. You are the idiot for allowing 4 years of insults without any consequence and rewarding your sister with a bridesmaid position. Are you sure you love this guy? My boyfriend and I have been living in the same house for 2 years. I had the address memorized before we moved in. I also memorized his previous address after a week. He could never remember it and had been living there for over a year. A few weeks ago, he ordered almost $600 worth of tools for a project. That is a lot of money for us, but he had been saving for it and finally was able to make the purchase. It wasn't expected to be delivered for several weeks because stuff was on back order. He checked his email today and checked the tracking just to see where it was. It was marked as delivered 4 days ago. Our entire yard is gated, which means people can't steal it, and we have cameras. Nothing was delivered on the day and time it says it was. It's late at night here, so customer service isn't open. He was freaking out trying to figure out what happened, and then he went quiet and said, "Babe, what's our house number?" I said 3529, fake number. I looked at his phone and he had typed in the delivery address as 3592. He got very upset, swearing up and down, and I understand because now that's all that money lost. The house in question is a few doors down, and I offered to head over there tomorrow and see if they still had it. Well, after a minute of him sitting there swearing, I told him that while this is very unfortunate, it's completely his own fault. He said it's not his fault, he can't remember things. I told him that he has a history of not being able to remember addresses. Knowing that, he should write it down on his phone and double-check every time he orders something. He says I'm being an idiot for not being sympathetic, but I said that it's his own fault for not double-checking. I do feel bad, but I always check several times that the address is correct before ordering something for this exact reason, and I don't know what he wants me to do about it. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Part of being an adult is knowing where you live. If he found it hard to remember, he could have written it down. Does he have dyslexia or dyscalculia? Him swapping the house number around like that reminded me of things I've done before. Not the idiot. If he knows he can't remember things, which I call nonsense personally, a bad memory seems to afflict a lot of people who can remember the stuff that's important to them, but can't remember the stuff they expect someone else to deal with, then he should have double-checked. Frankly, if I was ordering something that was financially significant, I would be double-checking the address anyway in case of typos, etc. Send him to the house he ordered to so he can check if they have his package. If they're honest people, either they'll have it and hand it over, or they'll have returned to sender, in which case he'll get his money back and can try again. I don't give sympathy for situations that are entirely the person demanding sympathy's fault. When I was a child, there were no cell phones. From the time I was little, when I needed to remember something important, I would do things like stick handwritten post-it notes to my alarm clock and to the door frame and to the mirror in the bathroom so that I would see them. I have to laugh at the grown-up adults who are carrying a device that makes human memory practically obsolete, whining about having a bad memory. People who lean on the bad memory thing are just lazy and they simply do not care about the things they forget. There is no reason besides being lazy and not caring.